Hello and welcome to day 2 of the 90-day profit series. Today we're talking about living check to check, right? We left the job or decided we didn't want to have a job because we didn't want to live paycheck to paycheck, but the sad reality is many businesses are living client check to check. So whether you are just growing, you're new in your business, or you've scaled your business, you've grown a lot and you're multiple six figures, even multiple seven-figure businesses, what happens is we can still end up in the cycle of living client check to check, right? Even if you have people in programs paying multiple installments and you have a big flood of them all at once, you can still end up living in that cycle of the client check to client check. So even if you've rapidly grown, right? A lot of businesses are craving that growth. They want that growth. That's what we've been programmed. The growth that's bigger is better. But what happens is if you grow quickly and you have rapid growth and you're operating on a check to check basis, it doesn't matter if your business has grown or not. If you're in a check-to-check basis, increasing your sales and growing more does not mean you're going to have more profit. We have to get out of this check-to-check basis in business because that is how money problems start in business. Money problems occur in business when two different things happen. Number one, sales slow down. Now, if you're living in a check-to-check status in your business, that seems obvious why that would be a problem, right? You lose one big client or a client doesn't renew, they go out of business, or a big deal or a big client you thought you were going to land falls through for some reason, you're not going to have enough to cover your expenses, right? So that's problem number one, sales slow down. Problem number two, though, that is a little bit more insidious is sales speed up. That one's not quite as obvious as a problem. But the problem that exists when sales speed up is because just as your sales speed up, so do the expenses. They quickly fall behind it. So though it might feel great to make that big deposit initially, those big deposits are irregular. So having consistent incoming cash flow is hard to maintain if you don't have a proven strategy to keep it consistent and keep it coming in. Right? So you can have a great quarter and that can trick you into thinking it's always going to be that way and you're in a permanent upswing and you can start spending like that. But without a strategy in place, when a drought period hits and it comes unexpectedly, there's a major gap in the cash flow. Then at that point, your business and your personal life is now accustomed to living a certain way. Your business is used to a certain level of expenses, and it makes it hard to make cuts on expenses. So what do? Instead of making any meaningful cuts, reducing costs in a meaningful way, we end up robbing Peter to pay Paul or robbing Peter to steal from Paul. And we're hoping and praying for the next big payday, right? And this happens to multi-million-dollar companies. I've seen interviews in Inc. magazine and other people that work with multi-million-dollar companies and consult with them, and they say that they go in there and they find the majority of multi-million-dollar companies aren't profitable. They're rarely profitable. All they're doing is just barely covering their monthly nut, or they're accumulating massive debt. Sound familiar, right? So even if you're a small business owner like me, you could be stuck in the same cycle that these multi-million-dollar companies are in. So how do we avoid this? How do we avoid living in the check-to-check status? Well, number one, we have to understand what actually makes a business profitable. Number two, we have to have a strategy that's going to sustain our cash flow like clockwork. So we don't have just one good quarter and then an off quarter and then another good quarter and then a bad quarter. We have to have something that's going to sustain that growth. So it's like this instead of like this. And then we also have to make sure that the strategies we're using are profitable themselves. We have to analyze what are the costs involved. If you ever watch Shark Tank, right, you hear them say, what's your customer acquisition cost? Same thing with us as small business owners. We have to look at what is the cost, what is the investment that we're putting into our business to get clients, and is that worth it? So in the future 90-day profit series, I'm going to talk about what are some of those strategies that we can be using that are proven to initially pay pay out over time, but also be highly profitable as well. So stay tuned for the next few days of the 90 Day Profit Series. I'll see you then.